I don't know if I'm the only one who noticed this, but did it seem that for a long period of time, every sitcom that seemingly aired on television had the little Chuck Lorre producer tag at the bottom corners of the screen? If you caught on to this too, then you should be familiar with one of his greater works, 2.5 Men. The show is a monumental piece of television history, having run for over 12 seasons, with some of the wildest lore behind each season. Today, we are going to look at how the cast of the show from the earlier seasons have aged 21 years later, while also revealing some of their wild escapades. First up, we have the star of the show, Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Harper?
Yeah?
Keep your hands off my wife.
Yes, sir. No problem.
The 20th century was officially over. Y2K turned out to be bullshit, and just as the New Year's Eve ball was dropping, so was Charlie Sheen from the big screen to the small screen. Coming off hot from a Golden Globe win, Chuck Lorre scouted the already infamous 38-year-old party animal to star as the hedonistic rich uncle in his new show. The role was tailor-made for Sheen, and he immersed an enormous success and banked from it. But after a shitload of millions later, it became apparent that the only way Sheen could get through lines was via rolled-up dollar bills. Eventually, Chuck had enough, and it was off to the unemployment office for Charlie. After the show, everything Sheen tried out seemingly didn't work out. And as of today, 2.5 Men is still the 59-year-old's last great gig. After coming up with the ideal life every true degenerate at heart wishes they could lead, Lorre's next character to bring to life was the stark contrast and worst nightmare to a loaded misogynist. In Charlie's case, that was his little brother Alan. Lorre, now going 2 for 2 in casting, would recruit a 38-year-old John Cryer for the role, who would almost immediately jump ship at the opportunity. That latter detail could be taken as both figuratively and literally, as Cryer would turn down a role in the reboot of Battlestar Galactica in order to star in Men, and at the age of 59 would make him $65 million richer 21 years later. Next up, we have Jake. Jake was the son to Alan and Judith, a child of a recent divorce whose worries about his parents splitting up could be easily wiped away by a 10-year-old's 5-star meal. He was a street, smart-class clown who brought out the best parts of his dad and uncle, while simultaneously adopting their adult humor. It might seem like an easy role to nail, but for a 10-year-old it's a little bit complex. But believe it or not, they nailed the casting on the first and only audition from a 10-year-old Angus T. Jones. Throughout the show, he used the same charm on us that he used with the directors. And in return, he ended up being the highest paid child actor, and still holds that title at 31. Coming in hot and crazy, up next we have Rose. You don't knock down different babes every day of the week without bumping into ones with a few loose screws. And as for Charlie's case, it doesn't get any crazier than Rose. Melanie Lynskey at 26 would get the chance to portray one of sitcom's greatest stalkers, and would leave no crumbs on the table whenever she was on screen. Her vast range as an actor allowed the writers to expand Rose's character far beyond a simple one-night stalker to one of the most interesting and complex characters on the show. But seriously, as the show went on, Rose's character would be more reminiscent to that of a Batman villain, rather than a one-night stand nutjob. And honestly, I loved every single minute of it. After proving her versatility on the show, it was no longer a hassle for her trying to land roles, as it is evident from her filmography. The actress has been booked and busy ever since the show left the air. Even at the age of 47, the actress doesn't seem to be slowing down, as she has shows that have come out this year and others that are slated for a later release in the upcoming years. On par with the topic of women in Charlie's life, up next, we have Evelyn. Evelyn was the mother to Charlie and Alan, who had no issue in letting people know how much she cared for her boys until she actually had to care for them. She rarely lived up to the devotion she claimed to have for her sons, and as far as time could tell, the only part of motherhood she actually enjoyed was the making of the boys. She was a real killer in the sack and the real estate market, and as dark and traumatic as her character was, the 58-year-old Holland Taylor would bring a light to the role with her snarky comedic delivery and her amazing wardrobe. Today, the actress is 79, and is still pushing the boundaries of the acting world and humanitarian sector as a proud member of the Pride movement. Next on the list, we have Berta, Charlie's housekeeper and the only woman besides his mother, whom he hasn't banged. Berta was played by the late Conchata Ferrell when she was 63 and was a cynical, sharp-tongued, hard-working, and sassy but caring housekeeper from the middle class. Scratch that last part, as Berta was from a downright white trash background, complete with the full package of pregnant teens, meth lab explosions, and locked-up relatives. She was an agent of chaos who thrived and got her kicks from the Harper's dramas and misfortunes throughout the 12 seasons. After 2.5 Men, Mrs. Ferrell's pockets were insanely heavy, and the roles just kept on coming until a nasty cardiac arrest got the best of her at the age of 77. It's been 4 years since she passed, but she is still in the hearts of all the show's fans after entertaining us for nearly 12 years. Rest in paradise, Berta. And finally, we have Judith, Alan's bitter ex-wife who got everything. Maren Hinkle was 34 years old when she landed the titular role of Judith. She portrayed the character as a devoted mother to her son, but not to her cold marriage. She would divorce Alan at the show's pilot and acquire half of their estate, and a hefty monthly alimony check from Alan by the end of the first season. Judith would make no secret of living luxuriously all at Alan's expense, but only up until the point she banged and married Jake's pediatrician. She would get the marriage thing right this time, as she would remain married to Herb until the show ended. Maren Hinkle today is 58 years old, but hasn't been a stranger on the screen.